We've listened to the perspectives from a senior lecturer and a distance education student from the Philippines. Now let's hear another perspective from Japan, from our very own katambay, Kenji. Let's kick off the discussion with a question from Ryan. Ryan, take it away.
Kenji, what particular subjects are you teaching right now?
Actually, in general, I'm teaching English, but within the subject of English, I teach education, children's education, early childhood education, and reading and writing, as well as international issues. And this is between two universities, one private university and one public university.
Okay, so that's just to get this right. This is for undergraduate students, right?
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Kenji,
Yes.
so I'm just curious, what is your participation in the designing of degree programs and courses? Also, do you have a say on the curriculum or syllabus of those subjects?
Well, as far as the curriculum and the syllabi for my classes, I'm 100% in charge of it. Although the universities have some basic guidelines, but I create the entire course. For my class, I teach a lot of electives and only a few required courses. So they fit into the curriculum. I would say it's really up to the students if they want to take the class or not. But the most important thing for the students are required courses. So for my electives, I design everything.
Thank you, Kenji.
Konnichiwa, konnichiwa, Kenji-san. So, in the subject that you are currently teaching right now, what is the ratio of the synchronous and asynchronous interaction in your class?
Well, during the Corona pandemic year, all my classes were online. So really sad to say that basically they were all synchronous because, I mean, that was the feeling I was getting from the students, because you're talking about students who were not really designed or really motivated to do distance education. And they all really wanted to have some type of live lesson. However, I did have to provide on-demand access to the lives and basically just record the live for students who didn't have internet access or hardware to join the lives. So I would say basically they were all synchronous.
Thank you, Kenji.
Yes.
Thank you, Kenji. So you said that all your classes were synchronous. Can you describe to me what tools did you use for that online teaching setup?
Well, I used Zoom or Google Meets, and it just depended on the institution. One private institution I worked at had a Google Meets set up, and they preferred the teachers to use that. Where when I could, I used Zoom because I felt that it was much more interactive for the students, and especially English majors. They just like to have interaction with, to be able to just get the feeling of being in a classroom, basically. And other than that, I used learning management systems of both the universities a lot. I mean, I relied on that. So basically, it's a backup for the course. The students can see the information there. And even though we're doing the classes in a synchronous way, they didn't have to. I would allow them to not join the live and just do the work and send it to me by email. And we just communicated a lot by email.
Okay, just follow up on that. So you said you used Zoom for your classes.
Right.
Did you use any of the features of Zoom to make the interaction more better? Maybe the annotation or any other third-party applications?
Actually, no, I didn't. I had to keep it as simple as possible because I was using Zoom for all, in particular this one particular university, this private university, for all the classes, and just to get the students to sign up for Zoom. I mean, in Japan, online lessons or distance education is not really, it's a completely new thing. And I had a lot of pushback from some students, and when they got frustrated, it went so far as they would, complain to the parents, and then right up the ladder to the curriculum department, then back to me. Then I have to explain how to use Zoom. So I just kept it really simple. So the answer is no to that question.
I'm just so curious. Can you tell us more on the advantage and disadvantage you experience in terms of student interaction?
Well, I thought It really depended on the kind of students that you had in the classes. English majors were keen to show their faces, use the video and show their faces, where in other majors, they wouldn't. They want to be anonymous. And it was really kind of strange just to have these blank screens, and they'll just be there for like an hour and a half, and I'm just kind of talking. But that's how it went, and it was sufficient. I don't think it was optimal. But so the advantage was for some students, they liked to be in that environment. It was fun for them. Disadvantage was students could hide. They can just be anonymous, and I really didn't get to know anybody.
That's true.
So Kenji, this question is asked quite a lot before. So, in a distance education format or online format, how do you maximize dialogue with students, especially given their, potential high numbers? And what would be the ideal or manageable size for the class that you teach?
I would say the manageable size would probably be something like 20. If you're going to do something online and you're using something like Zoom, then you could really get a lot of interaction between students. I was able to do that just by pairing people up and asking people to ask other people questions. You have 20, it's pretty easy to see everybody. But if you have 80 who are registered, maybe 50 will show up. Who's there? They're not showing their faces. You have names. And the best thing I could do is just lay it out there for them and say, it's up to you to take advantage of this live situation and participate. If I have to, I'll just call on people. I feel ridiculous doing that because it's like you're in high school or something, but I just call on people sometimes. What do you think? Kind of thing. And it'll just be like that.
Kenji, I experienced that high volume of students in my other course. We are 70 in EDE 210. So it's quite a lot of students to handle for just one faculty, right?
Yeah, so I agree with you, Kenji, on the 20. I think that's manageable for an online, especially if you like to create more interaction with your students, because 80 is just too much. Yeah. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. So you've mentioned earlier that you designed some of your courses, right? The elective one. So my question is, what level of autonomy is allowed for your students in those courses? And what aspect of the course would you give them freedom to choose? So for example, do you like them to choose their own schedules, what subjects they have to take, any plan of study that they do?
It varies between I think the private institution, when we were online and it was synchronous, there was really no autonomy. It was basically just transferring the course online, sort of making a simulation, whether it was on demand or live. In the public university, I think there's a high level of autonomy just because they recognize that students should be able to just have the work in the management system, and they can be able to access it in their own time. And so the autonomy they have is when they do the work, when they hand it in. And that's really about it. They can't really choose what to do and what not to do, but they can decide when to do it. I give them that much, pretty much complete freedom to hand in work by the end of the term. And I think that's huge. And that is a lot of autonomy.
Yeah, I agree. At least they have that still, right? I think this is the last question for this session. So given your new learnings in the Open University in UP in the MDE program, so what adjustments do you think you would be adopting to your classes in terms of maybe structure or dialogue?
If distance or education continues at the university level where I work, I'm not sure if it will or not, given what the corona situation is. Right now, I'm still doing it at the public university. And I think I'm more sensitive to the idea of dialogue in reducing transactional distance. Because sometimes I had a first class recently. Students have certain expectations. And like if you have a class of 80, you're dealing with 80 different potential expectations. And how do you, so if students feel uncomfortable about classroom environment online, I found myself having to actually just take a student aside online and just tell them that, you know, you can't let the other students affect your experience in the class. The work is there, you have your assignment, you have what you have to do. You can't expect to control the other students. You can't expect to really, of course, control me either. So you have to take responsibility for your own study.
Right, right. I think that's one of the challenges in online, especially if there's a lot of sort of freedom for us, you know, especially as students. So I'm experiencing it now. Yeah, so I think that's one of the challenges. I think the orientation bit before starting the entire course would be helpful. In a way, it sort of sets up the expectation, kind of. Guys, you have any questions for Kenji?
I'm good.
I'm good as well. Thank you, Kenji.
Good.
Thank you
Kenji.
so much,
Kenji.
Kenji, for
Thank you for
sharing your
Thank you,
joining us.
thank
perspective.
you.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Hey.